Here we go now.
Touchdown, Cooper. That was DeMarcus Lawrence.
They can't stop us. Keep hitting him in the mouth. Keep hitting him in the mouth. They can't stop us.
Keeps his feet to the 10. Touchdown, Elliott. Gallup leaping. Touchdown.
Dallas Cowboys Game Night is presented by AT&T. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
The Dallas Cowboys fall to 3-8 on the 2020 campaign as the Washington football team comes to AT&T Stadium and puts up 21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter en route to a 41-16 win here on Thanksgiving Day. Welcome in to the Star in Frisco as Cowboys Game Night is upon us. Kyle Youmans alongside Nate Newton, six-time Pro Bowler. And Nate, this was a game that going into it, you felt like the Cowboys had some momentum. They were starting to figure things out on both sides of the football. Well, it ultimately turned out to be a total team loss. All three phases, including the coaching staff, had their bugaboos in this one. But where do you start whenever it comes to the 41-16 loss?
You know, you just got to look at it, man, and just wonder how much did the coaches panic. I mean, these guys, we lost two of our tackles in the first two series, and they were playing well. They were calling a good game, but as the game went on, as coaches, we made some questionable calls. The players kind of lost confidence, and then in the fourth quarter, it just seemed like it all fell apart. But other than that right there, and I'm saying other than that, he's like, oh, they lost 41-13. Other than that right there, if we could just fix that thing with the coaches at the beginning with the confidence, we should be okay going down the stretch.
And it certainly ended up looking like at the end of the game, they kind of ran out of gas, and that fourth quarter was a real dull spot for the Cowboys overall. Here's what Mike McCarthy said up at the podium at AT&T Stadium after the game.
Questions, please. David?
Yeah, Mike, can you start with the decision on the fake punt deep in your own end zone, what the rationale was there and how that play broke down?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a big play opportunity is the way you view it. There's certain things you look for tendency-wise on when and where, you know. But, you know, it's obviously we didn't execute it, and as those things go, I mean, obviously it's ultimately my responsibility when particularly a play like that doesn't work. But we're trying to generate a big play at that point in the game. Prior, you know, the information that you look for going into it, it was a solid call.
Mike, what has the last couple 24 to 48 hours been like for this team?
I mean, I think stating the obvious, extremely difficult. I mean, obviously with the passing of Marcus Paul, I mean, it was, you know, a lot of heavy hearts, but I can't say enough about our football team, about our players, the way they came out, started the game, and, you know, we had a number of adverse things to deal with throughout the game. We just, you know, we didn't get it going to where we wanted to get it going in the second half. But you find out a lot about people in these times, and I can't tell you how proud I am as this football team. But yes, it's a week that I don't think any of us will ever forget.
It was a tough, short week for the Dallas Cowboys. Also, not to mention, it was a physical battle with the Washington football team. When we come back here on Cowboys Game Night, we'll continue to break down the 41-16 loss to the Washington football team. And we're going to hear from Ezekiel Elliott, who was held underneath 40 yards for just the 5th time in his career, right after this.
This segment is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. The Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket from the Texas Lottery is your ticket for a chance to win up to $100,000. Get your Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket today. Must be 18 or older to purchase a ticket. Play responsibly.
Just getting started here on Cowboys Game Night following a 41-16 loss to the Washington football team. Let's go back out to AT&T Stadium and hear from Ezekiel Elliott, who had just 32 yards rushing as that Washington front seven had their way.
Hey guys, I just first wanted to start this out by sending my condolences to the Paul family. I want to thank the Paul family for sharing Marcus with us. He meant so much to this team and had such a big part of everyone's everyday life, and we were just grateful that you guys, shared him with us. Yeah.
All right, we'll take your questions now, please.
Zeke, how hard was it just to get ready to play today, considering what happened over the last couple of days?
It was tough. It's been definitely a rough couple days. And yeah.
Obviously, you guys canceled that practice Tuesday, and then you practiced Wednesday. What was I know you guys have to try to, the show must go on. How hard was it just to even come to the stadium today, just to play a game of such importance?
It was definitely an emotional week for everyone. Like I said, Marcus had such a big role in all of our lives, and every day he's the one leading the stretch. And so, we're lining up for practice, getting ready to stretch, and you get that reminder that he's not here with us anymore. And it definitely is tough, and we just gotta lean on each other and help each other get through this tough time.
A tragic week for the Dallas Cowboys family following the loss of Marcus Paul, but Zeke really struggled on the ground today, Nate. And you talk about this Washington defensive front. They're one of the best ones in the entire NFL. And you look at the 32 yards on just the 10 carries. Not only was that a problem, but he had the fumble as well. That was a real turning point in this first half.
Yeah, and I thought he had got past that, Kyle, that fumbling. And nobody caused the fumble. It was an unforced error. He was trying to get extra yards. He should have been trying to cover up and get on to the next play. But unfortunately, he fumbled. But this coaching staff have to learn to lean on Zeke. I understand that he fumbled, but 10 carries, we have to do more than that. We lost 2 key players at our tackles position. We're to our 3rd and 4th string tackles. We're going to have to be able to run the ball, and we have to be able to run it efficiently. We have to use Tony Pollard a little bit more. We're going to have to slow the game down. We got Baltimore coming up. We can't throw the ball all over the field. They got a nice defense. We're going to have to puncture their defensive line in the middle, and we're going to have to be able to do that repeatedly, whether you want to or not as a coaching staff.
And you talked about the play calling early on in this football game. It's something that kind of trickled into the second half. And, of course, the Ezekiel Elliott fumble didn't necessarily help things out there. But whenever it comes to the play calling, you had to see some conservativeness from Kellen Moore and company behind that offensive line. We're going to talk about that offensive line coming up here in just a little bit. But when we come back here on Cowboys Game Night, we're going to look at the defensive side of the football and Jalen Smith right after this.
This segment was brought to you by the Texas Lottery. The Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket from the Texas Lottery is your ticket for a chance to win up to $100,000. Get your Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket today. Must be 18 or older to purchase a ticket. Play responsibly. This segment is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Another big day on the ground for the Washington football team as they take down the Dallas Cowboys. Antonio Gibson becoming the first rookie to score 3 touchdowns in a Thanksgiving game since Randy Moss did it against the Cowboys back in the 90s. Let's go to Jalen Smith and hear what he had to say. He had an interception in the game, but how did that defense fare?
Can you talk about your interception today? Did you feel that you had a chance to score there?
Yes. Yes, I should have scored.
What happened on it? Why? Can you talk about the play of just when you got the ball and what you saw?
Got the ball, headed to the sideline, down the sideline. There's a defender to the left of me, so I'm gassing it, just deciphering, okay, am I going to have to cut back to score or am I going to be able to beat him to the pylon? once I gathered that I was going to be able to beat him to the pylon, I began digging and digging. And then number 17 came up behind me. I didn't know he was behind me, and he got me. Unacceptable. I've ran with the ball in my hand the entire life, my entire life. So got to pick my knees up and got to score. Got to score.
Yeah, how tough was it to stop the run today for you guys?
It was tough, but it was our fault. Nothing really that they did. It's just a matter of communication and discipline on being in your gaps, and then from there it's winning in the trenches, having that physicality. Something that we've done before. We've practiced, we rehearsed. Didn't get the job done today, and it shows.
Cowboys defense allowed 200-plus yards against the Washington football team on the ground back in Week 7, 187 on the ground, a part of that 338 you see on the screen there. The defensive line played well at times, Nate. The secondary had their struggles, but you see the 3 sacks. There were key plays from that defensive line, but what did you think about that side of the football overall?
I like how they played, especially early in the game. They lost it in the fourth quarter. A lot was put on a fake punt that didn't work, a 4th and inches that didn't work, a running back turning the ball over. So they were put in some funny situations and you know, to come through, you know, and they didn't. I mean, you can't continue to leak on a defense that's trying to learn a new defense. You got young guys in there. Your defensive secondary is depleted. It sounds like excuses, but those are cold, hard facts. When you have a defense that's young like that, you got a lot of injuries, which that same thing on offense. You have to be a little bit more conservative. You have to play it by the numbers to help that defense out. Nice job, Jalen, owning up, my baby.
It really did seem like the defense was put in a couple big-time situations and bad situations by the offense. Like you talked about with the play calling, that ultimately played a huge factor, especially when you got into that second half, and the Cowboys defense certainly suffered in that regard. The Cowboys give up 41 points again. That points per game average continues to skyrocket. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the offensive line and some of the injuries that they suffered early on. We'll hear from Joe Looney right after this.
This segment was brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Two big injuries on the offensive line in the first quarter of the 41-16 loss to Washington. Both Cam Erving and Zach Martin went down early. Here's what the veteran center Joe Looney had to say on the offensive line's performance following the game.
Joe, how hard was just playing today, considering, you know, you guys had to take care of Marcus and honor him the way you did over the last couple of days?
Can you repeat that, please?
I'm sorry, Joe. How hard was it to play today, considering what you guys went through this week with losing Marcus Paul and everything that you guys, you know, did this week for him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough. To lose somebody, you know, so suddenly like that you see every day, it's never easy. And, you know, Marcus loved football, man. He loved ball, loved his family, and, you know, had his faith. So, you know, it's definitely tough, man. But, you know, he made a lot of people around here better men.
How emotional were you guys? I think you guys were playing on the field, you know, after warm-up. How emotional was that for a lot of you guys? I think you were leading the team in prayer, I believe.
Yeah, it was really emotional. You know, anytime, like I said, you lose somebody so suddenly like that, it's really hard. And then to see his face up on the jumbotron, you know, and to have him not, you know, on the sideline with us, it's tough. But you know, I think what we did, we tried to just go out there and give it our all for him. And you know, I'm really proud of our guys, man, the way you know, the way they fought and honored him.
What were your thoughts when Cam first goes down on the first drive and then Zach goes down on the very same drive?
It's tough, man. You know, you never want to see one of your friends go down, you know, let alone a good player like Cam and Zach. But, you know, this league is tough, man, and we, you know, that's why it takes everybody on the team. You know, that's why it's a team game. Everybody has to, you know, come in and contribute. And,
I'm really proud of the guys for coming in and stepping up, man, being in the situation we're in, coming in and really, just putting their heart into the game.
Joe Looney mentioning some of the struggles from that offensive line as the injuries early on certainly hurt them, but you look at the stats as well. 4 of 13 on third down for the offense. The ground game never really got going, Nate, overall. And it's something that the Cowboys are going to have to fix moving forward. You're going up against a really good Baltimore defense coming up this next Thursday. But whenever you look at this loss, it was disappointing, but the Cowboys just never really got off the ground offensively.
No, after Zach went down and Cam Irving went out, it kind of got shaky. The guys played hard and they tried to play smart. They knew who to block, but when you got four first-round picks in Washington in that front, it's kind of hard to deal with. And as the game went on, it got a little bit better for Washington, a little bit worse for us. And we just got to be smart as coaches, as players, and just try to play it by the numbers next time.
The 154-yard touchdown reception from Amari Cooper was the only time the Cowboys found the end zone. How did they finish in the red zone?
Oh, just pay attention to detail. It's just an inch here, 6 feet. 6 inches there, 6 inches here, and you either a touchdown or it's a field goal. And we've been getting field goals, and we can't have that.
They had 3 of them out of the red zone trips in this game, and the Cowboys just couldn't necessarily finish drives. It's something they struggled with earlier in the season. Thought they had solved some of those problems against Minnesota. Well, against Washington, it certainly arose again. When we come back, we'll tie a bow on this one and put it in the rearview mirrors. The Cowboys fall to Washington 41-16.
Dallas Cowboys Game Night was presented by AT&T, Reliant, an NRG company, and by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
For the 6th time in franchise history and the first time since 2012, Washington sweeps Dallas in the regular season. This time it's a 41-16 win for the Washington football team, a 25-point victory for them as they improve to first place in the NFC East, and the Cowboys relegated to last place, at least through Week 12 as they fall to 3-8 on the season. There was a look at some of the final stats. Welcome in to the final segment here of Cowboys Game Night from the Star in Frisco. Kyle Youmans, Nate Newton. And Nate, not a whole lot of time for the Cowboys to get right back up on the saddle. They've got Baltimore coming up here on Thursday. Where do you start if you're Mike McCarthy and this staff?
Look at what you can do as a coaching staff to help this offensive line and to help your defense. And we have to be better offensively and defensively on third downs. And our defense has to tackle better because a lot of times you could have got yourself off the field if you would have just tackled better. And you just got to rally. Special teams, play consistent. Play consistent. Be smart, play hard, you'll have a chance to win.
What does the message have to be for Mike McCarthy in the locker room come the first practice? It's been a short week, an emotional week, but how do you get back to business?
Just come to work. Come to work. If you come to work, bow your head, tell the players you're going forward. You're looking at the next play, the next moment, the next series. You just do it like that. Don't look back. What's happened in the past has happened. Start just going forward, and you'll be okay.
Anything stick out to you from a Baltimore perspective coming up on Thursday that the Cowboys need to hone in on?
Tackle. Just tackle them serious. They got like a Mario Brothers, John Madden type offense. Just tackle. Know your assignments, line up correctly on defense, and tackle. Offensively, be consistent. Play small ball. That means keep the ball as much as you can running it and do what you have to do and execute.
Baltimore has definitely had their own issues coming up over the last couple of days, so it'll be interesting for the Cowboys to have to turn things around following this 41-16 loss to Washington. For our entire DallasCowboys.com crew, I want to thank you for tuning in to Cowboys Game Night. For Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Youmans. We'll see you next Thursday.